Bobby.
Blessing of the Lord be upon you.
We bless you in the name of the Lord.
Thank you. Psalm 59. Which is good because we looked at Psalm 58 last week. We looked at Psalm 58 last Sunday evening. So they're kind of run together here. But this one, people does not give up easily. Wouldn't it be great if people did just give up? It doesn't. You got to beat it. You got to stomp on it and bury it somewhere. It just keeps coming back in waves, it seems like. Well, that's what the psalmist says here. Look, verses 6 and 7. Each evening they come back, howling like dogs and prowling about the city. There they are, bellowing with their mouths, with swords in their lips, for who, they think, will hear us? Well, guess who hears? Everybody, because, yeah, who will hear us? It's like the people that the evil ones are inflicting evil upon here, but who's going to judge us? Who's going to stop us? Who's going to make us quit? That's kind of the problem that we face in life, and it's a problem that David faced in his life. Scholars say this is about, it's commentary actually on 1 Samuel chapter 19. David had been anointed as the next king of Israel. He had become a close advisor to King Saul. He was the musician in his court, right? He'd play his lyre and sing, and Saul's spirit for a while would be soothed and calmed down. He was Jonathan's best friend, and that was Saul's son. King Saul gave his daughter, Michal, to David as a wife. Things were going great for David, weren't they? Man, he was on a roll. But, there's that word but. Stick it in there. But Saul became jealous of David's success in battle and rising popularity with the people. Remember what the chant was of the women? Saul has killed his thousands, and David has killed his 10,000s. And Saul couldn't stand that. It played over and over in his mind, and until it drove him insane. And from that point on, Saul sought to kill David. And there were times when David would say, hey, I'm not a threat to you, even show him I'm not a threat to you, and Saul would quit for a little bit, but what? Evil does not give up easily. Just kept coming back and back and back. So in this psalm, David relates his fear and his faith as Saul sends men to surround his house, capture, and kill him. If this is truly a commentary on 1 Samuel chapter 19. So David speaks of seeming desperation, first 4 verses. Deliver me from my enemies, O my God. Protect me from those who rise up against me. Deliver me from those who work evil. And save me from bloodthirsty men. For behold, they lie in wait for my life. Fierce men stir up strife against me. For no transgression or sin of mine, O Lord. For no fault of mine. They run and make ready. Awake, come to meet me and see. He's calling on the Lord. Come to meet me and see. What happened here? Did it change? Did I have? No, that's Saul speaking of desperation. It looked like a title, didn't it? It looked like my original title, but should have been paying more attention. He gives a description of these enemies. And this is how evil sometimes works. They rise up against me. They work iniquity. They're bloodthirsty. What are some of the tactics of the enemies? They wait in ambush. They don't like to just come out and attack a frontal attack. They like to wait in ambush and sneak up from behind or whatever. They'll work in mob actions. They work under the cover of darkness also. And that's what David says. They come by night. They surround the place. What's the motivation of his enemies? Simply that they hate righteousness. That's what he says there. They hate righteousness. David hadn't done anything wrong. He'd been anointed as the next king of Israel. He had killed his 10,000s. Saul didn't like either one of those things. So Saul had his men go out to get David. But David had confidence in the Lord. Look at that, verse 5, and then verses 8 through 10. You, Lord God of hosts, are God of Israel. Rouse yourself to punish all the nations. Spare none of those who treacherously plot evil. Selah, and that Selah means stop, contemplate about this, think about this. And then verse 8, because we've already looked at verses 6 and 7. But you, O Lord, laugh at them. You hold all the nations in derision. O my strength, I will watch for you. For you, O God, are my fortress. My God, in his steadfast love, will meet me. Remember at the end of verses 6 and 7, come meet me. God will let me look in triumph on my enemies. Now, remember, Saul wasn't David's enemy in the sense that David was pursuing Saul. Saul was the enemy. It's like lots of times we have people that are our enemies, but it's not because we're doing anything against them. It's because they choose to be our enemies. They would fight against us. So from a human perspective, we wonder where God is when bad things happen in our lives. Right? That's human nature. Where was God when this happened? Where was God when that happened? Why did God let me down? What have you? Well, there's a simple answer for that. God's right where he always was. God's the same place where he was when he let his son die on the cross. We got to think about that. God intends for us to go through some trials and tribulations in this life, because that helps to further our dependence upon him. Why does God even allow evil to exist? Well, if evil didn't exist, how would we know what good is? How would we have hope of good in heaven if this place was so good? We wouldn't want to leave here, would we? We'd want to stay here forever. How would we know our definition of evil is God's definition? How do we know that? Now, how do we know our definition of evil is God's definition? A lot of people don't. A lot of people don't understand what is God's definition of evil. So people think, there are things that God says that are evil, and they think, oh no, that's perfectly all right. That's okay for a person to do that. Whatever makes them happy. We'll deal with that topic in a couple of weeks or so. Partially. If God destroyed evil as it occurs, where would we be? Now, it's contingent on using God's definition of evil, which far surpasses most people's definition of evil. Because evil is rebellion against God. Adam and Eve were in rebellion against God. They were doing evil in the Garden of Eden. What does it take for us to do evil? Simply to transgress God's word and to sin. Verse 9 states, sometimes we simply have to wait for God to act. Look what David says, I will watch for you. For you, O God, are my fortress. I'll watch. That watching means waiting, right? Wait, God's going to do something good. But he's going to do it in his time frame. It may not be when we want it done. We talk about God answering prayer 3 ways, right? Yes, no, and wait a little while. We have to wait sometimes. David was greatly outnumbered. He was greatly outpowered by Saul's forces. It's better to give up and run away and fight another day, right? No. Not always. Sometimes it is. But not when it's evil, in the sense that we have to run away from God's cause, from God's ways, to produce whatever good we might think of later. God doesn't pick his battles based on our sense of urgency. Hurry up, God. Hurry up. God might be saying, well, what's your hurry? I've got this under control. Wait. Maybe there's some good that we can't see in what's happening, what's going on. Sometimes the Lord allows evil to run its course. Evil, if it's allowed to run its course, will destroy evil. You say, wait a minute, how can that be? Jesus said that a house divided against itself cannot stand. If Satan casts out Satan, he's going to be destroying himself, right? But evil is destruction, and if Satan is just turned loose, then the destruction eventually turns back to where everything's destroyed. What would Satan have left to rule over? Well, talk about socialism, communism, Marxism, whatever. Destroy the world so we can rule over the ashes. Gee, what good is that? Do not kill them, lest my people forget. Look at that, verse 11. We're going to read verses 11 through 13. Kill them not, lest my people forget. Don't utterly destroy the evil, lest my people forget. Forget that there is evil in this world. Are we going to be able to totally destroy evil? No, God can do that, but that's something that God has planned for the future. What would we know about evil if evil didn't exist? What would we know about good if evil didn't exist? About right and wrong if evil didn't in some way exist? Back to the text. Make them totter by your power and bring them down, O Lord, our shield. For the sin of their mouths, the words of their lips, let them be trapped in their pride. For the cursing and lies that they utter, consume them in wrath, consume them till they are no more. Right? Evil's still going to exist when you destroy these, that they may know that God rules over Jacob to the ends of the earth. Selah, stop and think about it. Don't kill them lest my people forget, but what? Destroy them so that they'll know, or at least judge them and bring them to an end so that they know that God reigns. There's a delicate balance there, isn't there? We can learn what evil is without doing evil ourselves. That's pretty tough to swallow in a fallen world, isn't it? We have to understand God's concept of righteousness. God's concept of righteousness comes with a concept of justice. Yes, we need to stand up for what is just, but not to the point where we actually do evil to bring about that justice. We can learn fundamental laws of nature applied to human nature. By watching evil, well, at least seeing evil in the present world, in this fallen world. We can understand that. But like what? Like, you will reap what you sow. So if you sow evil, evil will take you down. Good may have to take you down also, but good will do it in a just way. But there's always somebody more evil to take you down. We used to talk in some of our Bible classes at college about, is there honor among thieves? You know, a group of thieves are sitting around and one guy says, hey, you stole my watch. He pulls out a gun and shoots him. What do you expect? He's a thief. You're a thief. Now you're a murderer. Is there honor among thieves? No, evil will destroy evil at times. You reap what you sow. What is it that Jesus said? If you live by the sword, you'll die by the sword. But see, that's not equal to being a policeman or a soldier or even someone protecting their family. That's being somebody who uses a sword or a weapon for evil purposes. Second one, you do not get fresh water and salt water from the same spring. Hey, we've heard that, right? Just don't. How about evil begets more evil? A seed produces many seeds after its own kind. Those are facts of nature and human nature that we look at because we live in a fallen world. So we know that evil's going to be there. But yeah, we need to deal with evil. We need to deal with it in a just way. But sometimes we watch and see evil being put down. But God is our refuge. Even as evil reproduces itself, it always attacks and destroys itself. Verse 13, or the last part of that, consume them in wrath. Consume them till they are no more. And that's what God would have it done. David was confident that evil would be consumed and God would rule. Eventually, evil will consume itself. Human beings are unpredictable. But human behavior is predictable. You ever notice that? Human behavior is predictable. Human beings are unpredictable. Evil people will continue to do evil. But my goodness, there are some evil people that will turn away from their evil. Hey, a good example of that is Saul of Tarsus, right? He was doing evil, but what happened? Opposite of human nature, he did the right thing. He turned away. Became a disciple of Jesus Christ rather than an enemy of Jesus. But typically, in that predictability of human nature, human behavior, evil people will continue to do evil. Verses 14 and 15, each evening they come back howling like dogs and prowling about the city. Where did we hear that before? That was up in verse 6, wasn't it? Yeah. What? See? The repetition? What is it? They come back. Here it is. It's coming around again. They wander about for food and growl if they do not get their fill. Instead of going out and working in the daytime to grow their food, what do? They steal it. They take it from others. And if they don't get their fill, they're upset with the people. Oh, the Ants movie, right? Years ago, the Ants, it was Who was it? It was, and if they don't get their fill, if they don't get what they, man, they are. Some of those movies have great moral concepts to them. Well, somebody had to stand up to the grasshoppers, right? Evil perpetuates itself, feeding on its own hatred, cruelty, and selfishness. Yeah, it'll eventually turn on itself, destroy itself. And even though evil individuals may repent and turn from their evil ways, there will be others who gladly take their place in Satan's work. Why? Because they see an advantage to it. They see that they can do it, get away with it, and in a secular sense, be rewarded from it. God's people will always trust in God's power to save and reflect His goodness in worship to Him. Verses 16 and 17, excuse me. Time for an antihistamine. David writes, "But I will sing of your strength. I will sing aloud of your steadfast love in the morning." That's after the evil of the night. "For you have been to me a fortress and a refuge in the day of my distress. O my strength, I will sing praises to you, for you, O God, are my fortress, the God who shows me steadfast love." But if you extrapolate that out, see, the case is that no matter what the evil person would do to us in this world, if our trust is in God and we're in a right relationship with God, we're going to be safe in the morning. That doesn't mean there won't be moments of doubt, fear, and anxiety in our lives, because we live in a fallen world. But taking time out for prayer calmed David's fears, and that led him to a way of escape. Remember how he escaped? I think I got that in my conclusion. David did not forget to give God the glory for his deliverance. Remember how we started out? How great things were for David, right? And then how it all turned bad? David escaped Saul's clutches that night when Michal, his wife, who was Saul's daughter, let him down by a rope through a window over the wall. Someone who could have hated David helped him out. David escaped Samuel the high priest at Ramah and began a period of several years on the run. What happened? How did Saul repay Michal, his daughter? Gave her as a wife to another man. David never forgot that. That was evil on Saul's part. In one night, David lost his position, his wife, and his home, but he did not lose faith in God to deliver him from evil people. Would our faith be able to stand such losses? Think of those people down in the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, with hurricane hit. What happened in one night? Many of them lost their jobs, their wives, their homes, families, so much. One night. Would we be mindful to worship God despite temporary setbacks? That's what all those things are. Temporary. Unless we allow them to become permanent. Well, that's our lesson for tonight. I find so much comfort in the Psalms. The things that those Old Testament saints went through and men like David wrote down. So look here's how it goes. If you're strong in faith, faith is a victory that overcomes the world. And it helps us overcome the world also. I thank you so very much for your time, so very much for your attention. And again, thank you for putting up with me. If you have a need, let your request be made known, so stand and sing the invitation.